Okay, I'm going to show you how I like to thread a needle and separate the strands. So I wrap here's how the embroidery floss comes. I like to wrap it on a plastic or paper bobbin so that it is really easy when I want to undo it. So I undo a bit, and I don't really measure it, maybe about my arm's length from like the edge of my hand to my shoulder, and then use sharp embroidery scissors and cut. So this embroidery floss is 6 strands, which means there's 6 little tiny strands of floss that's kind of twisted together to make the floss. I typically like to use 3 strands, so I will count out 3 and separate them. It helps if you have like a little bit of tension. I like to put this edge piece in my mouth and just kind of pull. So now I have 2 separate strands of 3. So then I will just wrap this back onto the bobbin so I keep my workspace tidy. But with this, I'm going to use my needle, and then I just dampen the edge of it in my mouth, and then thread it through all 3 strands through the eye of the needle, and then pull that through. If you are doing just 3 strands for your stitches, then I just tie a knot like this. There are so many tricky, cool ways to tie knots, but I like the control of that. So I just do a double knot, and then I trim it as closely as I can to the knot as I'm comfortable, and that will help keep things tidy on the back of my hoop. Sometimes if you have a longer tail, you'll get loose threads that come up through your stitches, and I don't like that. For our purposes, I'm also going to show you, say you want to do double thickness. So say you want to have a 6-strand French knot or backstitch or something. I like to get the ends together, and then I will do my double knot. This is going to give me a stitch that uses all 6 strands in my stitch, but I won't have to deal with, this is pretty thick when you're dealing with all 6 strands. And I don't like to use a needle that big that can accommodate that. So this way I have double the thickness in my stitch just by bringing these ends together and tying the knot. So, but normally if you are just doing a 3-strand, oh, didn't get that very well. These scissors are not ideal. They're not my favorite, but they're so cute and little. If you're doing a 3-strand, you'll only tie the one side, and then this other strand is just left loose. So your knot would be here, and this is loose. And then as you're stitching, you're always making sure that this little thread doesn't get stuck in the fabric, because you're always pulling that through, because that's how you keep growing like that. Okay, so I hope that helps you know how to thread your needle.